funny couple of days. Valentine's Day was really sweet and also incredibly busy, and it made me proud. This morning I'm gonna do math today, and it's I've been reading The Body Keeps the Score with my sister, and we're kind of doing a little book club and we're talking about it, and some stuff came up in it that was activating for me, which is not surprising. We're reading it because we're trying to learn more about our own bodies and our own response to stuff. And sometimes when that happens and you're doing that and you're reading it and you're going through, you can get reminded, you can get triggered, and that's what happened. I've been going through I've been having more activation showing up since I started school with stress, and so I might be starting therapy again. I might be starting couples therapy with my partner, which is equal parts terrifying and lovely. I believe in it. I believe in therapy and its power to help people and make their relationship stronger. Beautiful thing to do, and I know that I have a lot of my own stuff, childhood stuff, body stuff to work through in order to make this the best relationship it can be, in order to make myself the best person that I can be, and digging in that stuff, whether it's in therapy or through reading The Body Keeps the Score, another psychology book, can be really, really scary. But I'm feeling pretty good today because I had a pretty activating trigger while reading the book with my sister, and I think there's two parts to it where I can get scared when I've actually experienced a lot of peace and serenity and healing in my life, then when I get triggered to the past where I was in activation all the time, it can feel like, oh no, remember we're back there where we're gonna be in that body state forever. I think I want to describe the waves, because as somebody who experienced this, and I mean, I get a lot of this out. Mostly I've just put this energy into trying to work in social work. I want to work in social work again soon because I really got a lot of this. I really loved that I was able to help people that were going through a similar thing to I was, but maybe a little bit on this YouTube I can help that too, to normalize healing these kinds of experiences so you don't feel alone. I'm going to label this something like thriving and living proudly with PTSD, you know? Or something like that. I don't want the title to trigger people, but I do. But the thing is, what was I going to say? I think it was just that what I noticed, the waves. So the waves that happened for me were like reading the symptoms and realizing that it described my symptoms, immediately thinking this is what I have, which was a type of like trigger and then freeze response. And I'm not going to tell you what the trigger was because I don't want to get re-triggered in here, but it's different for everyone. So there was a type of trigger that would happen, and there was a freeze and dissociative response. So, and I won't go into the rest of it, but I read my trigger and I read the type of response that I have. So reading that information, there was a reading it, there was a registering of it, and then there was well, what's the answer? Because I began to get activated in my body, just remembering the event and thinking, if this book is going to tell me, and then there became this desperation for an answer. If this book is going to tell me what I have, and put me through that remembrance of that trauma. Where's the answer? Are they going to give me the answer? What's the answer? How do I fix it? How do I fix it? How do I fix it? And so that started. And then so first the recognizing, and then the urgency for a solution to end it. And then I described it to my sister through our book club, and the describing of it to her brought up a lot of shame that I was experiencing this, a lot of shame about social rejection for having these type of responses. And then I began to, it just flooded my brain all at once. Every single time that I have experienced a trigger in a social setting, even though all of my friends have reacted really positively to that, those moments all came into my brain, fear of social rejection, and then all the moments, and then I began to see that event, flashbacks of that event happening with my partner, and how they weren't able to soothe me, and how I reacted in that moment when I had the trigger with my partner, and how I became frozen, and how I panicked, and playing through the flashback with all the moments in my partnership where I had panicked, and playing through what if I have a panic attack in session and shut down, and playing through what if they get mad at me, what if they leave me. So it was this like recognizing the trigger, wanting a solution, recognizing the sensation, trying to stop it, social shame, fear of rejection from social, and then fear of abandonment in relationship, and a desperation to find a solution to keep that abandonment from happening. So I just kind of witnessed all of that and kept returning to whoa, grounding, something you can see, something you can hear, something you can taste, something you can touch. Where are you right now? You're in your car. There's nature outside. Something you can see, something you can hear, something you can taste, something you can touch. And I did that for a little while. Something you can see. I was eating while I was starting to have this trigger, and so I also paused. But I could still, taste the seasonings, and something you can see, something you can hear, something you can taste, something you can touch. I was drinking my water. And after, I'm not sure the time, because time is kind of difficult sometimes in those moments, but after an amount of time, I was grounded and began to drink my water, and something about watching the water flow, I was connected to the goddess again. And that's what I needed in that moment, because I needed to, and her energy was like, told me immediately, you will not allow people to stop you from doing this regulation. Like, you will make choices in your life, and you do make choices in your life, in your day-to-day, that will not allow people to cross your boundaries, to make you unsafe. Because my fear was, well, if I panic and then I shut down to self-regulate and take care of myself, that my partner or my friends are going to be like, why are you ignoring me? Why are you ignoring me? Why aren't you participating? Why are you? And that was the fear. But the fact being that what I was really afraid of in those moments was that I would leave my space of regulation in order to soothe them and make myself in more danger. That was what I was really afraid of. And so hearing that from the goddess, that she said, you're not going to do that. You're going to take care of your body. First. Me, look at me, she said. I am with you, and you're going to take care of your body. And that's when the calm really set back in. And I think that I remembered, and then suddenly I remembered that that's who I am, that that's who we are, that's who she is, that I am no longer in a place where I have to choose to appease other people in order to avoid abandonment. That I am in a place where I choose to care for myself. And while that didn't seem accessible a moment before, with the grounding, she came back to me. And so yeah, that's what's going on with that. And yeah, I'm feeling grateful this morning that I'm feeling grateful to be able to I don't know if I'm gonna put all that in the video, but I'm feeling grateful to be in a space where I'm able to come back from a moment like that and have the resources to be in a space right now in my life where I'm looking at younger Chris and being like, I remember when I couldn't come back from moments of activation when I was stuck. So feeling some deep gratitude for being an adult and being in a space in my life when I can go do math, do homework. I'm gonna go to an interview tonight for a climbing job, which is very exciting, and I'm gonna go to a movement workshop this weekend. And I forgot to say that after I had the regulation kick in, suddenly returned to my brain all of the moments with my partner where we felt regulated and we felt connected and we felt dropped in. Those types of, and not just with them, with other people, but they were in there too. And those types of things, yeah, that's why you have to seek the goddess first, because only when you're connected to her can you become aware of, can you be in relationship to other people, you know? So gratitude, school, and I'll see you at the festival. Love you. Bye-bye.
Continue on Convict Hill Road for 3/4 of a mile.
Or like you're in a movie or something. That's a beautiful house. I used to experience that with ecstatic dance and drum circles, and I experienced that tonight. Oh my goodness, we ventured into the forest and guided each other with our eyes closed, tuned into our senses, and I got to just spin around the room and supporting this girl who was laughing and dancing, and we were giggling with each other. It was just like I felt in those moments that this is it, and even just dancing with myself across the floor. She said, "Tell your story" to the floor, and we began moving across it and exploring our stories.
In a 1/4 mile, turn right onto Escarpment Boulevard.
One thing that kept coming up for me is I kept entering this space of like what it felt like to be a kid and re-experiencing that, and that was so beautiful. I kept thinking like I'm playing.
At the light, turn right onto Escarpment Boulevard.
I kept thinking like I'm playing. But an unfortunate thing is that I'm trying to take it as
Continue on Escarpment Boulevard for 1 mile.
the car is jerking. I'm having to be very gentle with it. So, an unfortunate thing is there were some activities that we were doing that, because of my neck injury, I could tell that I needed to not do them. And our dance teacher at Texas State always says, "Do not push through the pain." But I wanted to be involved. I was desperate to be in this space again. And we had activities where you're supported and where you support someone else. And I didn't want to do the ones where I was supporting someone else because my neck hurt, but that doesn't feel fair. And also, I really wanted to be the person supporting other people. Like, there's nothing that really fills me up like holding others and supporting others, and I just know how I'm good at that and how I can give that as medicine, and so I did it. And I pulled my neck really badly, and it's really hurting now. And I cried a little bit about it there, cathartically, because it reminded me of things in my life that I do where I love holding space for people, being the leader and the facilitator and the person that physically I'm a top. I'm a dom. I'm a space holder, and
In a 1/4 mile, turn left onto Davis Lane.
There's nothing that fills me up like fucking my girlfriend well, or creating movement and massage spaces for other people and holding rituals. But I do these things, and I do them to the point of hurting myself.
At the light, turn left onto Davis Lane.
I literally remember there was a season last year when I was fucking my girlfriend quite a lot, and
Continue on Davis Lane for 1/2 mile.
And my neck and body was really hurting. And I'm gonna see what this GPS tells me to do. She's having me go all over creation. But yeah, give me one sec. I think the message of the event for me was that doing my math homework, okay? And I just need to ask if anybody else deals with this. They're trying to teach us how to do this probability stuff, and I'm always get stuck with math because, hear me out, the way the teachers explain stuff is always not the way my brain works at all. Like, I'm so confused, and it's generally because they're using a lot of words and talking really slowly, and I can't pay attention because it's really boring and I don't know what their words mean. And I honestly didn't get that great of a math education, so sometimes they'll just be using terms that I've never heard before, and then I'll ask them to explain it, and they get frustrated with the amount of questions that I ask, so they try to move on, and they meet me in my office hours when I don't have time. But they explain it in the most complicated, like, extra possible way, when all they have to say is like a really common sense thing, and I'm like sitting here trying to do this math with these formulas, and then by the time I get it, I'm like, dude, why did you explain it like it was really complicated when all you had to say was, bro, you have two things, move one thing, what do you got? You got one thing left. Like, there's easy common sense ways to explain it, but they go like the subtraction of the equation of the once we move to the second part of the equation. And so, like, I never get it because I'm like, what are you talking about? You need to note the event that the pair is drawn. P equals E. Use a choose function, 4 and 2. Choose function is this right here, where you do blah, 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 blah. C in R equals in factorio over R factorio, in minus R factorio. And then you put that over this other choose function with 15 is 2. And then you equal, and then that equals this whole situation. And I'm so confused because I don't understand how they worked out this function and blah, 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 blah. Meanwhile, literally all you have to do to figure out this equation, it's okay, say 52 cards, you have 52 cards. You try to find the probability that a card is not drawn, pair is not drawn. So what's the probability that a pair is drawn? Okay, so like you draw a pair, that's number 1. First you draw the first card, obviously, and you pull it out, it's a card. That probability is 1. You're gonna do it. Then you move on, part 2, draw the second card. You have 1 card less, so now you only have 51 cards. So the probability is how many pairs of this first card that you draw are there? How many more? There's 3. So just do 3 over 51. And that's the answer. I'm like, what? I have some beans and salsa. I had a lovely self-pleasure session this morning and some very prophetic visions of the future and closeness with community. And one thing I wanted to say real quick is I had to skip the second day of the festival to do school, and with all the kind of hiccups that have been happening in my pursuit of higher education, I wanted to give voice to something. I told someone that I'm very excited about meeting at the festival, and who came there to meet me. I couldn't come yesterday, and I deeply apologized, and she was just so understanding, and she was just like, no, I said, I'm trying to get an education for my future family and community, and she said, thank you so much. Like, that really impacts me too, and I found that so helpful and reassuring and nourishing. And one thing I wanted to give voice to is that so often in these communities, like these spiritual, hippie, vibrant communities, early on when I joined them, I had no money and I was really struggling, and I found some of them inaccessible because they would ask like $25 a donation when I was already getting, food from the food bank and rent assistance, and still couldn't make ends meet, and so I couldn't, go. And whenever I would bring up these concerns in those group settings at the time, I would get a lot of energy of like, well, just stop being in a poverty mindset and just, manifest your dreams. And like, that's not what it takes. Like, to me, like, it takes a lot of hard work and sacrifice, and I had to sacrifice a lot of that community time to spend going and getting an education so that I can make more money, so that I can come back to those environments and help provide for people who don't have the ability to provide for themselves. Because I don't think everyone needs a 4-year education, etc., to be valuable. And I think so many people in those hippie communities and the spiritual communities had so much to offer, and they don't need a higher education, and they don't need to be put through the trauma of this, honestly. And I would love to create space for those people and hold those people and give them something that I couldn't have, because we all should be looking out for each other, you know? And I guess there wasn't enough space and enough support available when I was there to give voice to that, and to give voice to the fact that yes, you are struggling, you can't afford it, and you know, ways that's just not good, and that's life handing me one, and that the fact that I have to go to school to get a 4-year degree in order to feel safe and held, have access to my spiritual community is traumatic, and is not the way that Earth intended. And sometimes the way to get through it is not to manifest, it's to do stuff that's not in alignment. At least that's the path that I chose in order to provide stability and money to those communities so that they can continue. Because I think there have to be people right now where we're at who are able to give money to those communities and those artists, and who are able to give money and support to people that are just benefiting spiritually from those communities. And yes, I think that people don't want this to be true, because when I voice this, there's a lot of pushback and saying, no, there's a lot of work trade options, there's a lot of this and that. And the reality is, when you're where I was at, where you're having to work constantly, so you only have a few days off, and on those days off, those people are saying, no, we really need $25, you know, a night. And then you say, it's work trade, and they're like, well, maybe you can come to the end of your festival for work trade, but you know, not your weekly community. It really is a big gatekeeping situation. And I felt a bit gaslit, just because we really couldn't stay there without money at the time that I was there. And I'm not saying that those people are doing anything wrong to charge for their services, and I'm not saying that anyone had the ability to step up and provide space for me, but just inherently I believe in a world where there is space for me, and there is space for people like me. And so I'm doing the really hard thing, you know, stepping out of alignment and going and working and going and supporting research, and that supports these dance therapies and these alternative therapies, so that people can get insurance money, and doing the things to help us get to a place where we can, you know, live in alignment. And it's not one thing, sometimes it's half the grind and half the living in the alignment. But anyway, that's all I'm going to say about that. But I felt really seen and grateful to receive like gratitude, because I think that I feel that I'm doing all this, the only reason is for my community, and that's barely starting to manifest now. That I'm able to host a few dances, and that I'm able to pay a little bit more here or there, or I used to. So yeah, just gratitude for gratitude. And I gotta eat my breakfast, and I'm gonna go dance.
To come up and talk about how we protect our trans kids. This is an off-campus event. your contacts.
No, because they initially gave me the wrong prescription.
Okay.
And then I had to send them all back. And they said, I just never got to pick it.
Got it.
I flunked my math test. Flunked. And then part of me wonders, should I have gone to this festival this weekend because this math test was here? And I have to answer a resounding yes. I had to go to the festival or I would have quit school entirely. So, but I failed really badly, even after all the hours of trying. You can see my face is like, I'm having a stress reaction response. No part of me wants to go into my modern dance class right now. But I already have 2 absences. And if I get more than 2, I go a letter grade down. So we're practicing showing up. It's only a couple hours, and then what's the worst that could happen? I saw someone, one of my classmates, math classmates, walking over here looking dejected, so I think I should probably reach out and see how everybody else is doing.
Okay, it's gonna dart out. Yeah. From here, you dart out, bring it around. Da, da, da. And then you're ready to go again.
It didn't go great, but it didn't go horrible either. I think it's really interesting trying to do dance and math so hard right now because they're 2 different sides of my brain. Like one is like thinking, and I kind of have to drink a bunch of caffeine and stress myself out to a point where I'm not connected to my body, I'm not taking care of wellness. And then when I'm focusing on dance, I have to like do this thing where I'm much more connected to my body and much less connected to my mind. And so it becomes this thing where like I feel like I have to choose one, and both of them, both in mathematics and dance, are not necessarily like basically ate a lot of sugar, messaged a lot of people on Tinder, as you do. So I did that, and I mean it helped me. It's always good to kind of check in and see, let yourself eat what you want to eat, but also I just noticed my health and wellness going downhill when I eat a lot of sugar. I had my math test today, which was what a lot of my stuff, a lot of the stuff that I was doing was leading up to my math exam. I think I did horribly on it, so I'm preparing myself for that. We'll see. I think it's been this pendulum swing of me in my divine masculine energy. That's been a theme that's been coming up for me in my headspace, work, structure, and now I've created the space and I can then fall more into my femininity, and I'm really trying not to put any shame around any part of that. Like, the reaching outside of alignment to make structure for her to be held. But now that I'm in that space, food, and with dance, with modern dance, I didn't do as well this rehearsal as I usually do, and I think it was because I was just a little sugared up, and I was a little bit... I feel like crying and laughing at the same time. I had such a breakthrough space of these job opportunities, what I'm very excited about. And at the same time, teetering, kind of tipping over into the edge of burnout. Sometimes I have so much love for my friends and my family members in my heart, and it can feel heavy or tight when I'm not able to connect with them, and my mind can ask questions about, are they not, do they not love me, or do they not feel my love for them? It's all very, it's hard to articulate. Requires rest, and like the elevation of the planet requires rest, deep rest, which can be introspective, but we can also be held in that by community. We need to be. And my treadmill, I've been running on this treadmill trying to create community and resources, and with my dance nights, trying to get the word out, trying to make sure that it's accessible to people that need community, and in that effort, really trying to meet people that are in a situation that I've been in, or that even am in, but especially that I was once in, where I needed people reaching out to me and creating these safe containers. And so I've been running on this treadmill trying to reach people, social media, emailing, connecting, trying to make sure and messaging people that anything they need to feel safe, making sure people have transportation, and all of those things for this event, and organizing, and then doing my own school, and all of this, so that I can come to create these movement spaces with more authority and more training in the future, create community spaces. And now I find myself, I got 2 new jobs that are going to be movement oriented and creating more community for people, but it's more in that outreach and that running on the treadmill, and trying to get that out there. And it's beautiful work. It's beautiful work, and I'm exhausted.
Depends on the need.
This is not good, bro. How to rest in really restorative ways and still make it to class. Like, in my head, what I've done is I've said, okay, I have to choose a class that I'm going to focus on math, because that's the one that's hardest for me. Yeah, I just kind of pass it, and if I have to drop it, I have to drop it and retake it. It's a beautiful morning. Thank God for tax refunds. And I got myself a juice shot, because that's what you do to celebrate. Yeah, I didn't know how I was gonna make it this week, or this month, or anything. So yeah, a tax refund came through today, and it means that all of my bills are going to be paid for the month of March. I filled up my car with gas. I got some energy bars. I know these are pricey things, but they really help me motivate. And I treated myself to a little turmeric shot. This calculation was so complicated.
Yes, sir. Let me get that pulled up here real quick for us. Who got the pleasure of hearing that?
Theoretically. really sweet call with my mom last night. We don't talk that much. We haven't. But yeah, my hair's a mess, bro. But we were having this conversation, and it was really sweet. But we were talking about, like, I was thinking maybe she might be an HSP, and so I was asking her, like, do you have troubles with like sensory stimulation? I know you had a lot of trouble in college, and I wonder if we're having some of the same experiences. And she was like, I had trouble in college because of the mean girls. And, you know, I was homeschooled and all this stuff, so I have some frustration around my upbringing. And we had a bunch of kind of healing conversations about that. But one thing she said at the end of the conversation was, well, what if you don't know, like, you don't know what would have happened if your life had been different. Like, maybe, like, she said a lot of stuff like, I would do it different now, and I know I made a lot of mistakes and stuff. But one thing that she said was, she ended up saying was, you know, how do you know that if you were allowed to go to college when you were a teenager, maybe you would have been a mean girl. And I was like, hey, maybe, I don't know. I do think there was like a lot of perks to my homeschooled upbringing. And so that, you know, it was a cool conversation. But when I woke up this morning, I had this thought, this feeling like last night, I think I was like, yeah, you know, I wouldn't have wanted that, and maybe I would have been a mean girl if I'd gone to college. But the other part of me, when I woke up this morning, was like, maybe I wanted to be a mean girl. And that, like, you know, if you know anything about just like, what do you call that? Archetype work, or anything where you learn to, even parts work, where you're learning to kind of integrate and embrace every part of you. A part of me was like, well, what about the mean girl part of me? What about the mean girl archetype? Maybe I wanted to express that part. And there's a lot of like, there's a lot in that realization, but I'm kind of channeling that this morning. I'm kind of felt an empowerment from that thought process, because the part of me that wants to rebel, the part of me that wants to dominate, and the part of me that wants to do all those things is not necessarily bad energy. Like, that's necessary. That's a piece of me for a reason, and that's something that I think my inner child, so to speak, is seeking to explore. So, and obviously, you know, on here that I'm into like kink and BDSM and all these things that explore the shadow sides, that explore the domination and these things, especially since growing up I was forced into a very like subservient, meek and mild role. Maybe it is my mean girl era, like maybe it is my you know, the time to let that part of me out. Anyway, channeling that this morning, it's kind of nice.